this I've been welcome. You know what I was really very happy when Kwame said he got a small thing. Probably taking into consideration the size of his body. He doesn't want to say it was a big thing. Then when you look at him,
They compare small to you, small body.
yeah, so everything is just in line. But Kwame, congratulations again.
Thank you, brother.
And welcome back. You can welcome me to the studio because this is your program, but welcome to Liberia.
Thank you so much.
Well, why God like you?
But tell us when you came back.
Well, I got in yesterday. Hopefully, was it somewhere around 5 to 6 o'clock p.m. like your time?
Oh, but then you called me 2 hours later.
What, you came to sign for your 2000?
You gave me 2,000.
And by the way, we should clear that out. Yesterday, the advisor to the president, Commissioner Eugene Angbe, did say that the president is not receiving any money.
Right.
So let's clear that out.
Yeah, we will.
I think what they talk about the 2,000 is just a mere audience. There are a lot of things the president is entitled to, but if you wait for them to go out and get help for Liberia, you will not go.
You will not.
Wow.
So probably the finance minister at the time was just speaking on mere audience, but the president has not received that.
Very good.
And those who even travel with the president, if you went through the audience, see what they're entitled to, it means that probably they will not even end up going anywhere else. But so it be it. That's what we made on the books, and that's what is we are working with. And
were you in Monaco?
No, I didn't go to Monaco.
Okay.
I just left from Qatar straight here.
Oh, from Qatar.
And one thing I also want to say, even if I left from here on the president's delegation, as per our ordinance, I'm not entitled to get any pardon, whether it's $5 or whether it's $10 for more than 7 days.
Okay.
When I'm in country, it's not more than 10 days. That applies to the president, every member of the delegation.
Wow.
Yeah, but it said if it is after 7 days.
Let's sort of whack this whole thing up.
Yeah, but I don't want to clarify that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So after the 7 days, I mean, if you spend any money, you can spend it on your own. But then if it is legitimate expenditure, you can come by and reclaim the money, right?
I've been with this administration since 2019 December. I've not gotten any refund.
Oh, wow.
I've never made a project. But what I'm saying, that's what it says. But don't get me wrong. The 7 day is per trip.
Exactly.
It's per trip.
Not the whole travel
Not the
itinerary.
whole travel.
Exactly. That's what I said.
So, for example,
Yeah.
I spent almost 2 weeks in Doha.
Mm-hmm.
As per the ordinance, I'm entitled to part-time for just
7 days.
Yeah, but you gotta say these some of the small things. The 7 days. How much I said? That's the valid thing.
I don't know. Probably I got to go back to Mr. Tua's office and.
I knew
it. So, but you see, what is really happening? Sometimes we are shocked, that these things are happening, but it's no surprise. I think the people have realized. When I say people, I'm not talking about Liberian people. I'm not talking about neutrals. But I'm talking about those on the other side of the aisle, the opposition group. They have come to realize that the only way they can win the sympathy of the people is to throw out garbage, misinformation to our people.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have come to realize that, I mean...
At the end of the day, the man still remains popular.
From day one,
but some of them making it look like we're in Armageddon, like fire is falling
people
from...
People are just desperate because they want to get power. It's just desperation.
Tell us about your interaction with the president when these kind of messages coming back from
what's
home.
his persona, demeanor when he hears some of these?
Well, let me tell you and tell the Liberian people, the president is a different human being.
Wow.
Probably when you expect him to be jittering, you expect him to be worried or concerned, he will talk you down. He will talk you.
He will be calming you instead.
You would try to tell him this is what he's being talked about. He will try to bring you down, and then.
Because I think he's used to the pressure. I mean, this is the man who's been on the field when everybody expects that their team will win. With hundreds of thousands on the state, or tens of thousands that is on the stadium, and he's under that kind of pressure. So I think he's used to it. What do you think?
I hope you have some time. To be around him, because when these things are being said by some of us that are very close to him, people feel that they are times being made up, but the reality is just him. You talk about soccer field, his tension is not from soccer field.
Okay.
It's even before going to the field.
I know.
How do you get prepared to go to the field?
Right.
Most of the things you need to get to the field are lacking. I can take a story where one time the president went to school in West Houston, among his peers, friends, classmates, schoolmates, people went to him to take shoes from his feet because the shoes wasn't his.
Can we push the mic a little bit too close?
Okay.
Wow.
But it didn't deter him. Some folks will drop off from school because of that.
Yeah.
They will not have the mindset to go back and interact with a friend. But that's his life at the time. He has to accept it.
Yeah.
Even with his ascendancy to the highest position of the land, why his critics continue to peddle this narrative of class warfare, they versus us? Is it that they don't want this story? At first, they didn't want it. Then they brought the Alan White, the Tiller, this, all of that didn't work. And here they are again, and listening to Louis Brown, the likes, and I mean, I just don't get it.
Well, what is unfolding in Liberia now? If you say negative thing of the president, you think you have come to stardom.
I know.
I like that.
Even if you have a show on your program or the very radio program, if you say positive things that the government are doing, people believe you are being paid.
Mm-hmm.
So for other people to come and think they can use you, they want you to say negative things.
I know. So you wanted to talk about, how do they call it? The Paris Peace Forum. Specifically, you said, you had listened to some misinformation you wanted to clarify.
People were saying that the president was never invited to the Paris Peace Forum, that the president went on a safari.
Right.
That the president's name is not on any website about him being invited. It's a shame, gentlemen.
So all those papers from the Gulf and all of those foreign press, you mean our guys don't check them out?
But he's talking about the Paris.
But they even said that about the
Qatar, thing. Yeah.
Right.
Can you imagine?
Because I even watched that on Chinese television, local television.
People were saying, and as they saying, that the president went into Qatar just to watch World Cup, to see his son play.
And you were in Qatar.
So, Paul Kagame was there. Was his son playing?
I know him.
Fatih Sisi, Egypt did not qualify for the World Cup. Was there.
Yeah, Abdel Fattah Sisi, yeah.
Yeah.
The king of Jordan.
So that's the president of Egypt, by the way. The king of Jordan.
Right?
Rwanda, president of Egypt, king of Jordan.
Can you imagine you have over 26 presidents at
Wow.
the World Cup, attending the World Cup.
My people, you hear him? We had 26 presidents
It's not
attending.
It's not because we are. So sometimes you ask folks, so when the president went to Brazil to watch the World Cup with his son playing, when the president went to South Africa 2010, this president served as one of the ambassadors for the Qatar World Cup. I mean, he worked with FIFA and with other federations to make sure
to get it to that level.
To host the first ever World Cup in our region. So
As a matter of fact, he was one of the supporters of the Qatar bid.
So
when Qatar won
because of his status,
the World Cup hosting right. As a matter of fact, he said that when he met with the Emir, he said, even though we receive criticism, but it seems as if you've outperformed many people's expectation, and it seems as if those criticisms have been proven to be wrong because we made a decision at the time, like we did the same for South Africa. Mm-hmm. That was a speech he gave when he met with the Emir.
Yeah, but again, another thing, gentlemen. FIFA also invited the president because he's a Hall of Famer. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, all by himself.
Exactly.
So all those that are in FIFA Hall of Fame still alive today were invited.
Mm-hmm.
I met a great phenomenon. I'm talking about the real Ronaldo from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I had a photograph with him. I had a photograph with Roberto Carlos. And all those guys, Master City, all of them have been there. So their kids are playing the World Cup.
I know.
So,
but we should also talk about some of the benefits the president reaped from that trip. So the president was invited by FIFA, but he was also invited by the Emir. We know that Qatar is, through the Arab Fund, they're one of the sponsors of the Lofa Road project. And as a matter of fact, the president had gone to also secure additional funding for that project because the first phase is about complete. I understand it's almost complete. So we're looking at the second phase because the president has promised that he's going to make sure the road from Banga to Menikoma
They've crossed salary already.
Yeah,
right?
they cross salary, right?
But how can George Weah, somebody who mindset is just developing my country, just developing, go to a rich country, interact with the Emir and come to an empty-handed?
I know.
How possible is that?
And so the Emir
Qatar
decided that he was going to.
Qatar is the third richest country in the world. The richest when it comes to having natural gas.
Yeah,
over
reserves.
9,000 metric ton. How can that George Weah interact with such a man and come back empty-handed? He didn't even go there. We had the first funding through the RBA Bank.
Yeah.
For the phase 1 of the Lofa project.
Yeah.
Then he must go there.
So the president went there. The president interacted with the man 4 times. 3 times before the bilateral meeting.
Wow.
Even before he went there, there were telephone conversations.
Some people said some of the things, some of the cheap politics the opposition were peddling is that they didn't meet at the presidential palace and all that.
Yeah, because that's what they do. Keep the country under that level and just show the red carpets and your certificates.
The president hosted a lot of meetings here in Liberia. Some at Jamaica Resort.
Yeah.
Some at his president home.
Yeah.
Some at in the stadium. Were those meetings not legitimate?
And it was convenient because we have about 26 presidents attending, like you said, and so you don't want to move them between stadiums and what have you. So it's convenient to just meet them, at a designated location because even when the U.S.
was there. Not just
we saw that. We saw all of that.
Was even met there.
The U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken,
was also at the same place where they have the meeting. So when you're meeting the schedule, they arrange that day for you.
Yeah.
You go there, your flight.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
So now we're going to get back to you. Let's talk about, and it's so shameful that people will come out and talk about venues of meetings. Some important decisions are taken at a coffee shop, for instance. Some other people have walk meeting, exercise meetings. They meet at the park. Bilateral meetings at international events. Some of the times,
I'm not even cutting off.
Yeah.
Barack Obama had a lot of meetings on the golf course.
Exactly. It's shameful.
There were some big deals happen on the golf course, except you're small football politics.
It's naive for any person that is to come and say, "Oh, look at the place it met." As a matter of fact, it's not a meeting; it's a meeting. Come on now. Anyway, yesterday something quite significant happened in Liberia. The CLSG line, as a matter of fact, it's called the CLSG because it's a Liberia, it's Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea line. This is something that Liberia's been working on for quite a while, before the 2018 transition, when President Weah was elected and took over the mantle of authority from President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. One of the things he put his sight on was to ensure that he increased the access to electricity. And as a matter of fact, he started working immediately with the CLSG. So the president, according to the different narratives, even we check the CLSG website, by 2018, that process was about 18%, 18%. 1/8 complete. So even the managing director of Transco, Mohammed Sherry, did admit that President George M. Weah and his administration took it to a whole new level. By the time the signing was done, sometime in October, we had gone up to more than 90% completion rate. That was because the president kept meeting the different prerequisites and whatever. President Weah, when he came to power, paid some of the bills that previous administration owed LEC. That was to facilitate, make it liquid and facilitate their work.
Right.
He reduced the cost per electricity. President Weah reduced the cost per electricity because it was said that the cost per electricity is one of the highest in the world in Liberia. Liberia had one of the highest rates that people are paying for electricity. One of the poorest countries paying the highest. So we had to adjust that. And then he said, but when electricity in Liberia is just under 5%, I think it was about under 10% by the time he took over. So he said, we needed to increase access. And so he started working on this. But then something happened last dry season, which was quite unfortunate. Last dry season, the challenge with the hydro became quite pronounced. That was when the water level went down, and then we had outages and power and load shedding around the place. Everybody started to complain, and so earlier last year, he had this year he had a meeting with all of the different energy stakeholders. Those energy stakeholders came out of that meeting quite satisfied. In fact, that was one of the meetings the U.S. ambassador said he was very happy with. The EU ambassador said the same thing, that they were extremely happy that the president had made some commitment about things he was going to do. and he's followed through with those commitments. In October, we saw the finance minister, who would have loved, by the way, to be at that program yesterday, because this is one of his signature projects. He's been working on this for quite a while. Yeah, it's a brainchild. It was unfortunate that he's sick, he's recovering. But Murray was there for Mines and Energy, Captain, obviously, the acting CEO of LEC, the acting chair of the cabinet, Frank Musadin, who switched on the light. So it was said that December 1 was going to be the time that we'll switch on the light. Many people playing this down, but it's a very, 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 very important venture. What that means is that we're having an additional, because water levels can go down at the hydro by December, January, February. Mm-hmm. So we can start a load shedding. So we'll have this additional 27 megawatts of electricity now from the Ivory Coast that should fill in that gap. But not just that. We also started repairing the HFO generators, bringing additional fuels. The president dropped the tariff on these things, LEC products and all of that. So these are the kind of small steps that the folks don't want you to hear about. And they are very, very important. People don't want to hear about it. They want to crowd the space with criticism. Oh, look how you shoot the man wearing. Oh, look how you travel. When all presidents travel. You just heard from Solo talking about 26 presidents were at the World Cup. What more were you talking about an international sporting icon? And Liberians knew that.
Right.
Kwame, you were at the program yesterday. Tell us about some of the things you observed.
So I was on there with my boss,
the Minister of Information,
Rennie, and we got there. But after he went inside, I thought to come because there was something remarkable. The people from the community, little kids from different walks of life within the community, they all came outside. They were shouting, singing. They had banners. You could see there were old banners that they had for some different programs, but it had the president and the U.S. ambassador on there, and they were all chanting and dancing. So we were talking to some of the little kids, and I asked one little girl, I said, what y'all can do it like? She said to steady.
That's important.
Right. Then I saw a set of twins. I spoke with the other guy. He was, they were 10. But his other brother was,
the brother of the twin.
Yeah, he was taller. He was taller than. So I said, but you, why the man taller than you? He said he went in front before me.
Oh, one of the set of twins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I said, but what do you mean by he went ahead of you? That's why he got taller. But it was fun hanging out with them. So fast forward, we went to the program. Then the U.S. ambassador. I got excerpt from his speech. Yeah. I mean, it was very, very powerful. Yeah. He and the EU guy. He was like, Liberian leadership, can succeed and thrive in this kind of manner when you have good leadership.
He said they cannot only succeed, but they can thrive.
Right. Yeah. That's what he said. He said he praised LEC and the government, in their current effort to stop power theft. And then he, to quote him verbatim, he said, "Consumer must pay their fair shares, including VIPs." He said, then the
and the Justice Minister did make that point as well.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm not a politician. I am a law enforcer. So if you don't pay for the power you're consuming, you're going to go to jail."
Yeah.
And repeated offenders will have harsher penalties.
Right. He had a speech prepared by the president to speak on behalf. He said they want another president say, let me talk my own.
I know.
When you steal current, because this current we have here is not free. He said that it's not, it's not. He said we took it on Sepe.
He said I used that. He said, Sepe. I mean, that was one of the speeches I really enjoyed yesterday. I mean, I enjoy all the speeches, but the one that seemed more relatable to the Liberian audience was that of the acting chair of the cabinet, Frank Musadi. He started and said, we're going to put jingles on the radio, the Malawala Balawala
thing. And he called on the justice system for the guys to, craft and let the people, you don't want slap on the wrist. But this is the most important thing the ambassador said, that sustainable access to electricity, it helps, health, education, and overall improve, youth status when they have, and making this key resource available to those who really need it. And
what that means in short is sustainable access is, like ensuring that the access is continuous, is sustained, it's up to the future. It's not just happening by just for a short period of time.
I could see this. He was so happy yesterday. The EU guy said, "Look, I'm not going to talk plenty, but I know. Let's call this small light and big lights coming, but it's big lights."
So let's
way
talk
you
about
wanna
what
put it.
this means. Because you know, LEC has been managed ever since the end of the Civil War by different foreign companies. That has been the arrangement that the government of Liberia has worked with donors. There's been various donors to LEC, whether you're talking about Japan, Norway, Germany, or what have you, and the World Bank. They've sought to revive LEC from 2005 when President Sally was talking about small lead today, big lead tomorrow, and are preparing to revamp the McCoffey, Hadji, and what have you. The donors said, we'll pay our money. But one of the ways we want that to happen is that we'll have foreign, energy companies that will manage that money that we'll put there. So Manitoba Hydro managed it for the first 5 years, and then ESBR, their own years just finished. So it's only just turned over to a Liberian management. So this is an entirely Liberian management team, ably headed by Moni Captain. Moni Captain, Liberia's former foreign minister, but also he was the one who headed the Millennium Challenge Account Liberia project. The 5-year grant that America granted Liberia, $257 million, that helped to fix the hydro, but also did some other projects and what have you. Under that hydro thing, they were improving Liberian efficiency to make sure that they can take care of the LEC once they are gone. They improve customer service and all the different things. And they brought that up to speed. So it was only important that that was the next step, because he was working on this thing with the Americans, and then he understood it so quite well, and then move on to the LEC, and he's ably handling it. You heard that yesterday from the managing director of Transco, CLSG, Mohammed Sharif. And the U.S. ambassador, by the way, the U.S. ambassador said they had some misgivings. Say, but the thing now, the way looking, they coming turn over to Liberian people now after more than 10 years. The Liberian people come to take out the thing now, and so they had some misgivings. But he said, Moni Captain's leadership of LEC has shown that Liberians can not only succeed at these ventures, but they can thrive as well. Because within a couple of months, you heard the Transco guy was saying Captain was on his case now and then, every now and then calling and this and that, until this project has come to fruition. So now, I was going to be, and when we'll talk to Captain, we're going to be asking him,
Right.
Does this mean that we no longer going to have power outage? For the dry
We
season?
won't see these little snippets on Facebook, roll call, rehab,
Yeah.
report. Yesterday I used to get so
But
pissed.
something he said, which was quite significant that we should talk about.
We're
He
gonna
said
throw all the drop bucket away now,
he said that the power theft campaign they've embarked upon, Mary Burr embarked upon
they
the power theft
praised
thing.
her a lot.
He said with the power theft campaign, it's just been 2 weeks. But guess what? And it only been in the Painesville area, just one
Around
area.
300K, over 250,000.
They've seen more than 4,000 connections. And they say in Painesville, more than 4,000 illegal connections.
Before you get Captain
Yeah.
or why you try to get him, from the speeches, the quotes you are telling people, it means Liberia need to take ownership.
Yeah.
Bingo.
We do need to be law abiding on the outside of Liberia.
That's what the acting when he said we pay bills outside, when we come in we done.
That's it. It's wrong.
We want it free.
It's wrong.
I know.
So we can only have big light, stable light if we all pay our quota.
I totally agree. And that's what he was saying. But more than 4,000 connections,
But
that's
Baka,
quite a lot.
You know what it means, that you know how many Liberian businesses struggle to match the foreign businesses.
I know.
Because to keep that generator turning, if you're
Anyway.
selling ice cream and all that stuff, you can't make it.
We got the chairman and acting CEO of the Liberian Electricity Corporation on the line. We have him on the line right now. The Honorable Moni Ara Captain. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, we're just talking about the switching on of the lights yesterday, or at least, connecting to the CLSG line and all of that. I'd like to first ask you, we've talked about the processes leading up to yesterday's switching on of the lights, but you care to highlight some of them and talk about how significant is this?
Yes. Our biggest challenge was meeting the requirements of the Ivorian electricity company,
Okay.
which have to do with, first of all, of course, the normal commercial terms of an agreement, because this is a commercial agreement. It's not a treaty or bilateral agreement between two countries. It's between two companies. And so part of the conditions were that we would make good on the debt that we owed for the cross-border because it's the same company.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, that we provide some guarantees because in essence, we were really considered a high-risk customer.
Wow.
So we were able to work very closely with the government through the Ministry of Finance to meet those requirements. And I'm pleased to say that it is because we've met those requirements that we were able to conclude the power purchase agreement.
So I was asking about how significant is this for Liberia? What does the Liberian public, what should they be expecting?
Well, as you know, we have a cyclical situation when it comes to the supply of electricity. In the rainy season, when we have high water inflows from upstream of St. Paul River, we have enough water to turn the turbines. That's why hydro is basically water. So you're using water to turn your generators. And when the water levels drop, then you have less capacity to turn your turbines. And so your generation capacity drops significantly. So what happens in the dry season is you have less electricity to share among your various customers. So you have to basically be turning one group off, put another group on, turn another group on. And that's what we call load shedding. We had roughly about 4 megawatts in the dry season to share when we had an average demand of about 40 megawatts. Now we've added 27 to that 14. So that makes a significant difference in terms of the gap of electricity available to share. So what this will guarantee us is that we will have adequate electricity in the dry season because of what we have purchased or what we are purchasing from Côte d'Ivoire. So in terms of the constant outages, no, that's not going to happen.
So we're going to have constant supply because one thing to be adequate is quite another to be.
Let me clarify that.
Okay, good.
As if you drive around the city, you drive around Monserrado County, you'll see that there's a lot of work going on.
Yeah.
When our contractors are up on the high tension wire working, we have to turn off the power in that area.
Right.
Yeah.
We cannot work under live power.
Good clarification.
So when we do that, that's basically a planned and technical outage, which we have to do it if we want to complete some of the work that we are doing to extend electricity throughout the city and improve the capacity of our network. So if you have an outage, it might be related to that and it's for a specific time. We will not have any outages at night for technical work. Normally we don't, unless it's an emergency.
Macaulay wants to ask. Okay.
Yes, talking about improving the overall program that you're currently undergoing. One thing that your customers are complaining about that, delivery, and we saw the partners talking about that, delivery of this particular product. How, I'm one of them. So you have these different communities coming together. They want to pay, but they're having problem with these faulty meters. When they even go there, it takes a leg and an arm, or the whole process is rowdy to even get a meter. If you get one or you got disconnected and you go, they send you that email, give you your receipt, you have to go buy a brand new line, you come back, the whole process is a little bit confusing.
Well, the fact is, when I arrived at LED and took over management, I found a backlog of over 30,000 applications.
Wow.
Over 30,000. Now you can imagine what it's going to take to meet that backlog.
Wow.
And the problem is, people skip the queue. You're on the line, you're waiting to be connected, somebody pass around, give somebody something, they move up the queue. And we're trying to put in systems to check on that and make sure that doesn't happen. But we have cleared over 50% of the backlog we had over the past 3 years. Okay, and we are working on that. Now, we have somewhere around 170,000 customers. If I get a call just from 1%, you know what 1% of 170,000 is?
Yeah.
That's 1,700 customers. Can you imagine how many pickups, how many crews, how many spare parts, how much fuel I have to utilize to respond to that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big challenge, and the only way LEC will build the capacity to respond adequately is when we can assure the revenue that we are earning is paid to us, and we can improve on building the logistical capacity of LEC. We need more vehicles. I even have a crew now that go around on motorcycles to give more faster response to some of the calls we're getting. We're even looking at the possibility of adding some technicians in there. So anything we can do to improve this, but we beg the Liberian public to be patient with us, because you are not the only one. You are one of thousands of people that want LEC to rectify your problem.
Yesterday, the U.S. ambassador was very emphatic, and he was clear about. He called on the government to give you guys more subsidy, but then he was very clear on power theft. That after he said that people should also pay their fair share, then he took that line. I think it was a swipe that at the VIP. He said VIPs should also. Do we see a lot of big people being connected illegally?
Well, that's of the past, because with my mandate that I have from the president, there's no big and no small to me.
Okay.
If you're big, we go after you. You're small, we go after you. We have a clear mandate from the president.
Okay, but let's.
It's a well-established fact that last year alone, LEC lost over $40 million to power theft. I mean, can you imagine what that money can do for the company?
Wow, $40 million to power theft last year alone.
Yes.
Well, and when you were talking about doing your presentation yesterday, you talked about the power theft campaign headed by Mirabro and some of the gains that has made. You care to talk about that?
To be very honest with you, I had no idea of the level of the problem until our people went in the field. And when they got there, I mean, you would find in an entire community of, say, maybe 300 houses, maybe 4, 5, or 10 of them would have meters, and the rest of them had direct connections.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the whole country, and it was really alarming for us to discover that. But you see, the name Mary Braw is a brand name. People know her. She has a record. And once she has associated with our efforts, people are now taking what we are doing seriously.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, she's not only dealing with the illegal collection, she's dealing with the corrupt LEC employees as well.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yes.
So
and
it's
she
an
goes
in-house.
after them. And we said it, that there are rotten apples in LEC, and we need to clean LEC up. But at the same time, let me say to you, we have some of the best and most dedicated workers.
Yeah,
Young
I saw that yesterday.
Who have a vision, who want to be, who want to make a difference for this country. And it's unfair for others to go around because of greed and destroy the reputation of other people who have worked very hard.
So let's get back to this, the CLSG line. So the 27 megawatts, would that supply, where would that supply? I mean, I know that you say you're going to be adding additional 14 megawatts to that. That should put it around 41, right? Is that enough to supply the entire Montserrado and parts adjacent?
Well, we also, that 14 was at the lowest level of the dry season.
Okay.
Mount Coffee has the potential to provide a little more than that, and we're hoping that this year the rainy season will be better. I mean, the dry season will not be as bad as last year. We have historical trend records for the past 30 years on hydrological data, and we realized that last year was an outlier, which means that it was not of the normal trend. So we're hoping that this year will be a bit better, and we'll have better capacity for Mount Coffee to add to where we're at. But we also have the generators at Bushrock Island. Okay. And we have 38 megawatts of installed capacity at Bushrock. But the problem is we try to use them only in emergency because they are extremely expensive to operate. One of the machines, which runs about 5 megawatts, uses 500 gallons an hour.
Wow.
So
And that's particularly difficult with the kind of fuel situation that's happening globally, right?
Yeah, before we were running them, it wasn't that bad because the price of fuel was about half. Now it's doubled. And so those thermal generators are there, and I will use them for emergency situations.
Lastly, I mean, before I turn it over to my friend, I know I asked you for a few minutes, but when you have Captain, you got to ask all the questions you need. But I wanted to talk about the line, the route that the line is going to be on. All of those different towns and villages going to be lighted as well?
Yes. First is Monrovia. There's energy in all the substations. In Yekepa, in Buchanan, Botota, and Mano. They have energy in them, but we have now to build the grids around these communities so that they can receive electricity.
Right.
The African Development Bank has just provided some support for us to connect communities along the CLSG line from Nimba all the way down to River Fest.
Wow.
So that contract was recently awarded. We expect that it will be implemented. They will begin implementation in the next few weeks, and we should start working towards that.
Kwame?
All of these signals work. We have to continue to build our generation capacity because the demand is going to increase. And as the Minister of Mines and Energy indicated, we have to have a certain level of energy sovereignty. That we have energy within the boundaries of Liberia that we can provide in addition to what we're getting from outside. And in the future, Mount Coffee alone is not going to be enough. So we have worked with the World Bank, and we have completed negotiations for financing to expand Mount Coffee by 2 additional turbines, which will increase that capacity by another 50% of what we have. And we are putting in a 20 megawatt solar plant at Mount Coffee.
Oh, wow.
We are also working on a feasibility study to build a second hydro for about 150 megawatts, about 80 kilometers upstream of the Simple River. So there's a lot of work going on and planning going on, but we know that everyone is anxious to get electricity now and not tomorrow.
One of your speakers yesterday spoke about, and that's something that was new, about these coastal cities that were lighted earlier, and that sent you into the current deficit that made you a bad customer. You said something you care to talk about.
Well, yes. The lights were turned on in Nimba, Grangeville, and Maryland without any management mechanism in place. And so when they turned it on, people just started receiving electricity free. It was a big project, and there were political, I believe, considerations around that as well. Mm-hmm. And LEC, imagine LEC challenges just managing Monrovia. How do you even manage 3 other counties that some of them you can't even get access to in the rainy season? So what we have done to resolve that problem is to get private companies to manage that part of the grid. Mm-hmm. And that's how Jungle Energy came in. And they are now managing Nimba.
Nimba, yeah.
We put out a bid, and there is an award, a notice of award going out for a company now to manage Grangeville and Maryland County. So once we turn it over to those companies and they start managing them, then the bleeding in terms of the loss of revenue and the accrual of debt will stop, and then we can move on. And hopefully those companies like Jungle Energy will then move towards connecting as many customers as possible, because those companies are doing this for as a business, and they need to generate as much revenue as they can. So it's obvious that part of their revenue strategy will have to be increasing access and connections.
Go ahead.
Let me say that we had somewhere around 5% access. We're now over 25% access.
Wow, that's quite.
Brilliant.
And how is that in comparison to the sub-region? I mean, to the other Mano River Union states?
No, we're still below. We're in a different situation. We had our entire electricity infrastructure destroyed during the war.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so we're not just only trying to expand. We're rebuilding.
Okay. Let me ask you this final question. Yesterday, when the acting president went to switch on those switch on the light
Yeah.
from our to the LEC grade from
Yeah.
CLSG to LEC grade.
Yeah.
We saw young Liberians, especially there was this female there commanding everything. Well, after her head, person did that. That was
Yeah.
very, very remarkable. What is it that I mean? You're using a lot of.
She's one of several females that operate the hydro.
Wow.
Yes. And believe me, we have a lot of excellent young engineers. There was a problem at Mount Coffee with one of our turbines, and we had to shut it down for a week to repair it. And that work was done by a Liberian team, 100% Liberian team led by a young engineer who graduated from the University of Liberia, an electrical engineer. And instead of completing it in a week, they were able to complete that job in 4 days.
Wow.
And you can imagine, I gave him a promotion immediately after that.
That's a good one.
Okay, this is lastly now. I know Kwame said it was lastly, but I just wanted to get your impression about the fact that.
Go ahead. No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you had a question. I just wanted to get your impression because, I mean, it was just, I think, sometime in May when the president hosted this, this big meeting of energy stakeholders to just ponder about the way forward and all of that. Because we had just come from this really bad situation with the dry season where there were a lot of outages and Liberians were complaining and what have you. And then a lot of commitments were made. The stakeholders coming out of that meeting, including the U.S. ambassador, said they were quite satisfied. And then we've moved to this stage now that we have at least, the commitments that were made have been followed through to the extent that we have 27 megawatts coming online after paying millions. How does that make you feel?
Well, I feel good because, that meeting with the president and all of the partners was really the turnaround point for the energy sector. Because all of the issues were put on the table and they were discussed very candidly. Nobody hid anything. And the president was able to get a full appreciation of the situation. And because of that, he was able to make commitments to deal with the issues that were hindering the progress of us moving forward. And he has stuck to that commitment, and it's on that commitment that we are riding and moving forward, because without that commitment, I can tell you for sure, LEC will not be able to go forward.
So before the CEO go, I just want to say exactly that's the kind of person the president is. When he gave you
that is the voice of the presidential press secretary, by the way. He's in the studio with us.
So, CEO, before you leave the line, I know you have a lot to run after. I must say congratulations for the work done so far, and we hope you do much better. But before you leave, what general message do you have for Liberian in terms of us getting what we need to get in a nutshell?
You had a question?
No, I didn't hear it.
No, he was talking about, firstly, he was commending you, and also saying, what general message do you have for Liberians, in order to sustain this momentum?
Yeah. Well, I think my message will even go beyond just the electricity sector. And that is, after so many years of civil war, there has really been a breakdown of law and order. Wow. And the rule of law has really slipped in our country. People do things with absolute impunity. They disregard the law. And you see that in the traffic. You see that in offices. Nobody cares. And I think if we care about our country, we should care about the rule of law. We should bring back sanity in everything we do. We are not at war anymore. These are not the war days. It's time to roll up our sleeves and rebuild our country. It's shameful to see some of the things that happen around.
Yeah.
And it's our fault. It's not no other person. It's all of us that are to blame. So I urge Liberians just to recommit to the rule of law and let us live as a normal, orderly society and not all of this chaotic behavior that we experience on a daily basis. I can imagine the kind of stress level, the pressure that people go through just driving in the traffic and seeing the kind of complete anarchy that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
It goes on to the extent that the police just they'll hold their hands and say, "There's nothing we can do."
Wow.
That's not the society we want.
Okay, that's the voice of Money Our Captain. He is the acting CEO of the Liberia Electricity Corporation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. So that was a wonderful.
We make of that, especially that his powerful closing.
Yeah, I thought it was quite strong because he took himself from being the acting CEO to being a Liberian who's concerned about lawlessness in the society, and that was one thing. In fact, the acting chair of the cabinet spoke about yesterday when he mounted a podium. He was supposed to turn on the lights, and he said, "I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a law enforcer. If you break the law, you go to jail." And he was specific about power theft. But we see that kind of lawlessness, like Mr. Captain was talking about, in other places as well.
Every sector.
Every sector, like the traffic and all of that. So people like shortcuts, and that's how you're having that with power theft, to the extent that you're talking about just Painesville alone, within 2 weeks, they've seen 4,000 illegal connections. 4,000, and then they've imposed penalties that have given LEC $250,000. Imagine how much would have gone to LEC and improve it. Yeah, if we're just talking about one sector of Monrovia. What did they do the whole county of Montserrat? What did they do the whole republic?
And like when he put himself aside, he said, "Look, let me just talk about it. All of us."
Yeah.
He said, "This kind of chaos. We no more war, no more. You got lawmaker then wearing some crazy vest and calling people, inciting people, going all over the place."
Yeah, he didn't go as that far. I don't think when it comes to
No, but I'm just
political, but
saying,
you're talking about you.
I'm talking about me.
Yeah,
it's my
exactly.
own words. I'm talking about.
I know.
Yaka Koluba.
Exactly. And I would have gone to sign him too.
I'm not afraid to say, "Oh, what? There's that." You go to a kind of a place. So what are we teaching? And these are the kind of things he's talking. Like you even in traffic, he said to the point where the cops are even tired.
I know.
Because there's nothing they can do about it. And I made a call that.
You have this lawmaker mounting a vehicle, and then the police will come and say, "You're supposed to go this way." And then he challenges the police.
Yeah.
The day they say all lawmakers should be in suits, and then he will.
When we grew up, to see a lawmaker, to just see him, if you saw him, that means you just don't, just from the expression to you, you're satisfied. Without one, you will never just see him.
Yeah, I know. No one is.
You're right. Nonetheless, talk about him inciting, doing all of those different things that are happening. And who you just get up in the morning as a lawmaker and you say derogatory stuff, insults the president and all of that. We went to the civic classes and all that. You would not even.
Do you know what's happening in Nigeria? Let me talk about this. I think it's Asha Buhari, right? I had to call her name, Amina Buhari or something. But the wife of President Buhari, there was a student who it is deemed. I don't think that is defaming. In Liberia, you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
People make all kinds of derogatory, unsubstantiated claims against the president, his family, and all of that. You saw the book that Azef Atupa wrote.
Right.
But this guy just wrote on Twitter and said, Buhari's wife is guilty of embezzlement and blah, 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 blah. The authorities, have arrested him. And he's a young fellow, young guy in the university, supposed to be taking his exams. The people appealing for him and all of that. They said, well, I think they have a charge. The legal people can always find some charge, something they found against him. So imagine if that was in Liberia. But also think about the level of freedom you have in Liberia. That you can make all kinds of different. Some of the times people that make. Just say things willy-nilly, unsubstantiated.
Yeah.
Some of the times on dumb comments, somebody will kind of get on the radio and make the comment and then sound because he listening to himself and maybe using borrow voice, he feels like, I'm making a lot of sense. When at the end of the day we look at it, but what did he just say? What did he just say? And essentially it was dumb. Go ahead.
Before we leave this, when it comes to an issue, another takeaway, that really caught my attention was when you talk about this young engineer who and his team were able to do the work on a 1 week that was set.
Mm-hmm.
He said, immediately I gave him the promotion.
Yeah.
So what is the message is he sending? Because sometimes you hear these guys in the street telling you, well, after this contract, we don't have anything else to do.
No.
If you work diligently, at least you'll consider giving an employment.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So you just have to do your work with commitment. you don't know who is watching.
You're right. That's it.
Another thing he said that I think we didn't.
Brilliant.
Okay, another thing he said I think we're not explaining before we open the lines just now. We're about to open the lines is the fact that none of this would have happened without the president's political will. He said that meeting in May really set the stage for all of what we saw happen yesterday, because it took the highest level of political commitment on the part of the president, called all the major stakeholders. I remember that meeting was attended by U.S. ambassador, the U.S. ambassador, by EU ambassador, by the World Bank representatives, all the different people, were in that meeting, and they came out of there really satisfied. As a matter of fact, some of them characterized that meeting as one of the best, they've held in Liberia, because it went to the nitty-gritty of the challenges facing the country and all of that. And the finance minister was authorizing that meeting. It was in that meeting as well that the president gave Mr. Captain his marching orders that if you are a government official and then taking power illegally, you should be dealt with. And all of that. And so, that's why you heard him talking about having orders from the president and what have you. So it was following that meeting that the government made a commitment, and now we're talking payment of millions of dollars. So this is the level of responsibility, the level of commitment because this is not just, the president sees the need and then he addresses them. Whether it is with energy, whether it is in the health sector, whether it is with roads, whether it is with education, we've seen all of the. So what do folks want you, they don't want us to talk about these development. They want to crowd the space with all kinds of different things, distraction, and hoping that we'll follow them. The likes of Louis Brown, who've been around forever and talking about we the people suffering. The man who been, how do they call him, head of LPRC, foreign minister, and this and that. You part of the people that's suffering? Can you imagine? You just coming from the United Nations, all the time they say, we the people suffering and this and that. I mean, how deceitful and disingenuous and trying to prey on the perceived gullibility of the Liberian people, and then coming to oblige and allow that man to be the spokesperson for his campaign.
I don't think he's actually playing on the ordinary people. I don't think he's really playing on them. He's playing on those who want the numbers, who want people to be with them.
Right.
Everybody is playing on the
take the ordinary people for instance.
Let's open the lines. Call us on 080-514-096. That's 080-514-096 or 086-561-537. That's 086-561-537. Good morning. I saw a call from the Deputy Minister. But let's take this call. Jalawa, please call us back. Good morning.
Good morning, Boakai.
Your name and where you calling from?
Thank you so much. My name is Christian Yanti, and I joined the conversation from the Office of the Intellectual Alliance of Liberia along the Japan Freeway.
Yeah, Christian, go ahead.
So, I wanted to appreciate the government. There are many people who just believe that this government is insensitive to the plight of the people. But for some of us, we are cognizant of the reality. We know all of the facts, ranging from the genetic development that we are enjoying under this administration now. But I'm telling you, yesterday we received gigantic sum of resources to build a dam that will supply current to this country. Unfortunately, those opportunity and those resources were being squandered, and time was being misused. Like Joseph Boakai indicated, and we saw that. Today, President, we are in his first term to witness this kind of gigantic contribution to cast away our electricity problem. I think it is something that every Liberian should be able to celebrate. I think these are things when we talk about the basic social services of our people. Electricity is a key component. When you have current, it is life. Life is life. Similarly, the way the president built the mind to connect roads. Similarly, like the late Maputo Yimba would say, the road to development begins with the development of roads.
Okay, Christian, thank you. Thank you. We gotta go. Let's talk to Randa Dubayu. Randa, good morning.
Yes, good morning, good morning, my dear friend, brother Kwame. Welcome back to Liberia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations on your graduation and achievement from the prestigious Peking University.
Thanks for that post.
And thanks to my own senior brother, I Solo Kewe the Great. And today, this is the last month of the year, but of course, today's MICAT remains because
Randa, you kind of bring it up. I better want to hear the part you talk about MICAT.
Probably.
Call back. First,
call back, Randa.
change your position. Call back.
Let's talk to this other caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Barker.
Yeah, your name, where are you calling from?
My name is Eugene S. Jobo Jr., and I call you from Capital Bypass, District 8.
Okay, Eugene, go ahead.
Let me say a very big thank you to you and your team for the kind of work, continue to inform the Liberian people as to what the government is doing, what the president is capable of doing. And for us, we're following, we will not be distracted for the good things that this president want to transform this country. Like you said, we know that already. You cannot sit in America after serving the United Nations and you say you're suffering. You the people, we are suffering. After being one of the gigantic on the highway, you consider yourself to be the masses. The masses know that UNO will know our leader.
I know,
and will know what.
Say we are suffering much. By the way, I don't take private calls. If you have your number on private, we got to see who calling.
And President Weah was so smart enough to appoint MICAT at AEC. I think he's doing extremely well. And we, the Liberian, now we have to take ownership of AEC.
I know.
All right.
Thank you. Let's talk to this other caller. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Your name, where are you calling from?
This is Abraham Weah. I'm calling from District 17, Broadway, to be precise.
Abraham, go ahead.
Yeah, I know my big brother MICAT is listening to me clearly. You see, in Broadway, we are actually suffering for electricity.
Okay.
Entire Broadway City, no electricity. And Broadway City is a place that people committed to pay. Look, some people are paying $50 per month. Only in the night we receive current. Some are
For LEC?
Not LEC.
Okay.
We have not received LEC current. And you women keep my everywhere have current. I don't know what's wrong. What's the problem?
You do nothing. Don't say you do something. We just We're kind of here. Okay, let us see the Randa do by you. Randa, good morning.
Yeah, Randa.
Yeah, thank you very much. I left the line, but quickly, I must admit I got very annoyed, and I get annoyed when I listen to voice, like deceptive voice like Louis Brown. It made who was dismissed by Charles Taylor when in fact the government of Charles Taylor was not even reporting the God. Imagine to be dismissed by Charles Taylor. It's just the highest form of immorality and corruption.
For corruption, they dismiss you for corruption.
On the
chancellor government, when there was no account, central bank at the president hall that I want to say, then they dismiss you and your own pass mark.
You cannot check more than 3 person that was dismissed by chancellor for corruption. Louis Brown was dismissed by chancellor for corruption. What does it speak? He may be the chief criminal chief. The biggest crook. And, I don't blame Louis Brown. He survived on blackmailing. He survived on holding press conference, I remember. Before getting in club, I'm on he held a press conference at the City Hall when he said, no president is the foundation of our nation.
Yeah.
And he got a job. Unfortunately, this president is not listening to a crook, to a criminal.
Okay. Thank you. Let's talk to Jarawa Tompo. Jarawa is on the line. Jarawa is the Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Information for Public Affairs. Jarawa, good morning.
Good morning, Minister for Finance. Good morning, DG Weeks, and my distinguished brother Solo Kaba. Good morning. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
He said in Qatar enjoying the Liberian people money. But Blanca, when I was coming from my coffee yesterday along with Kwame and the minister proper when we were coming, when I arrived because of the traffic, I decided to stop somewhere around Depot Road. And it will interest you to note, and I hope that my friends are listening. Gabriel Jackson, Silver Davis, and Medina Men. I hope all of them are listening so that they'll be able to call to authenticate exactly what I'm going to say. At the entertainment, there was this guy, one Clarence, his last name was not known. One Clarence, he said he comes from the ANC and they have, they've been having this meetings upon meetings, the goodness of what is happening in the country, even though he admitted that the census started at a very slow pace, but it's now ongoing, very fast move. And then he talked about the CLG land that was, this was on yesterday. When he said their plan, all of these things that are going on, their plan for December 17 is to divert the Liberian people attention
And then I shouted because you didn't know who was in the garden when you were saying this. You know, I don't usually go to entertainment center. I usually go there to sit down, sometimes to watch game or to see people dancing and what have you. So I shouted. And then my friend said,
well, let's get back to the reality. You say why you went to the entertainment center for? To go wacky? No, that one is so real.
Something, no.
I just put it there. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
You know, we have something I said. We have something I said before.
And
then I was shocked. And he said, they were on the table and they were discussing this. And I told myself, Tumpo, that in government, listen to what I'm saying. I said, wow. So I grabbed my chair, I adjusted my chair, and I went closer, listening to the conversation. You know, let's try to, divide the citizen attention from the big lie they're talking about today, the censor. And I said, wow, now I see why these guys, every time goodness happens in this country, and then they play different tactics, but this one will fit. Wow. Because the Liberian people will not listen to Louis Brown. The Liberian people, they are part of the situation, will not listen to George Wisner. So I mean, thank God that I have to listen, and I was just searching for his name. He's one of the guys from the ANC, and he's from within. And he said that they having series of meetings.
Anyway,
one meeting. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. That's the voice of Jalawa Tumpo there. Jalawa is the Deputy Minister for Public Affairs. We have Ama Kosbot Nebe on the line. Ama, good morning.
Thank you, Minister, for the recognition. You know, it is a news that worth celebration. So we are under patriotic obligation to call and celebrate this news. I'm talking in relation to the switching on of the CLSD. We have suffered too much in this country for current. We were promised by Manaseli, big lead tomorrow. We did not see it.
Small lead today, big lead tomorrow.
Yeah, big lead tomorrow. We did not see it.
But you saw the front page Africa headline money. Big light has come.
Big lead has followed the come. I saw it. In fact, that's the reason why I thought it was important to play this call and celebrate the president in the entire government for alleviating the light constraint that we have been still with as a country. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for this platform. Former Minister Brown, those people should not be given relevance in this country. Those people were part of the folks that the former vice president said the squander opportunity. They are the reasons for which the Bruins has produced most locals, because they went, with the mindset that they will use wrong tactics to get to power, and those wrong tactics resulted to the proliferation of locals. So we don't give credit to those people.
Let's talk to this other caller. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Your name, where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Alfred Myers, and I call from Banders to be specific, the African community.
Alfred, go ahead. Okay, let's talk to political moderate Setu.
Yeah, good morning, Honorable Minister, and good morning to your half-hour panelists in studio. Honorable Kwame, welcome back.
Thank you.
To Nigeria with my own big brother, Asuru Kebe.
Thank you.
The spokesman in the office of the president. Thank you for updating the public on the good happenings surrounding the presidency, His Excellency President George Weah. I think we seeing big luck today under the leadership of President George Weah. Do not be carried by that. One thing people going to say, the president leave the country. One thing we should be thinking, when the president coming back, you come with and fruitful and result for us. So let's pray for our president while he out of the country. Let's continue to maintain our peace under the leadership of President George Weah. Thank you for affording me the opportunity to go to President mindset. We can make Mama Liberia a better place. Okay,
let's hold on with the calls yet, and then we can get back to that later. So, what do you make of some of the concerns?
Yes, I think they spoke well, and I'm happy that most of our Liberians are aware of what the president is doing. Let me just give it a rundown as to how the president has been faring on his trips before we go to other deliberations. And I almost said when we had Money Captain on the line, I think probably he should try to become one of the prayer warriors in this country, because I think they are praying for rain, and it's keep raining at this time of the year. last night in my community will have a huge rain. But basically, he said something, and that one of the vision of the president, a president intend to build a new hydro, which you think would be one of the lasting solutions to solving our problems, and that is.
Somebody just sent me a note and said that somebody with a knowledgeable person and said our government actually met CLSG at 5%, and according to the CLSG officials, they've taken it to 100% completion. So basically, they're saying the president doing his transition, the whole CLSG thing was just somewhere around 5%. They were just beginning it and all of that. Whether we have sufficient political will, whether we're putting in the capital, the necessary resources and all of that, we probably did not do as much as, was needed. But it seems as if with the onset of the Weah administration in 2018, he just took the bull by the horn and has taken it up to 100% completion. Now we're talking about the whole thing about dry season. You heard the acting CEO of LEC. He was talking, say, if we have power go now during the dry season, it will not be because of the load shedding, that led to some of the outages. It will be because maybe the LEC people were working somewhere, they call it line off.
Right.
They're working so and so place, they say they call it line off, but we're not calling oil in the net, we can't wait in there. We're supposed to be complaining, say, tell me the heat killing me, all those stuff. Because people are complaining, like, some people say the president is insensitive. This is a mark of sensitivity. This is leadership. This is presidential leadership. Mm-hmm. When the president hears that people complaining about a particular thing, he arraigned all of the different cabinet officials and brought the different UN people and other partners of Liberia together and said, let's talk about this energy thing once and for all. Let's solve the problem. And that's the kind of practicality that the president exhibits on these kinds of things. He's not a fan of the different set of processes and what have you. That's why initially people the company say, the president, because he's a practical person. He wants a rule fix, he gets to it. And that's exactly what he did with the LEC thing. Mandated the finance minister and say, well, let's pay the money and make sure that we can get to the CLSG. That's why you saw Mohammed Sharif, the head of CLSG, was saying, thanks to the president, thanks to Mines and Energy Minister, thanks to Minister Tue, who, like I stressed again, would have loved to be at
Let me share this with you by the boss, Captain, yesterday, that they arrested some folks who were trying to steal power, connect lines from those turbines.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
The thing is so entrenched, the whole power theft thing. Yeah. And that's why the Justice Minister was saying, look, I'll put you in jail. Yeah,
the Justice Minister said that they're going to protect that facility.
They're going to protect that facility.
Very, very well.
He said for repeated offenders, you find your penalty might be really harsh. That means if you do it one time, they maybe give you a slap on the wrist, maybe a fine, and say this and that. Then you go back again and go do it. That one at jail up, and then you're looking for now. So he said they're going to definitely put people in jail. He said, me, I'm not a politician. The politicians have a tendency, I want you to please everybody and this and that. He said, me, I'm a law enforcer. And so we're going to make, because, like for instance, they may complain about no core in Burrowville. They put in one generator carry there. Every other person want to join illegally. Then they burn the generator. Then the whole people suffer in Burrowville. So that's what they say. If you see somebody on the line illegally, report it. But we ourselves are the enablers. We see the person on the line and say, oh, that's my neighbor, or this and that, so I can't talk it. But then you suffering yourself and the rest of the neighborhood.
So, So, Baka, this is why when the president spoke day one, during his inauguration, he said, not by the eloquency, but judgment by the decision of making, decisions he's making. So, like I said before, the president started his journey from Liberia to Tangier, Morocco, to Sheikh Masher, to Paris, Qatar, and now Monaco, before heading for the US soon. So along the lines, what happened? Let me start with Monaco. The reason I want to start with Monaco is because you were talking about what happened in Nigeria about this guy on Twitter, and then people are taking to him, and that is not Josh Ria. So you heard that he was given the award for the international edition of the Peace and Sports Award for 2022.
Yeah.
What the people look at for which they gave him the award, some Liberians will not want to hear that, but those who know the truth would appreciate the president for that. I just want to give you a quote from what they said. They say your commitment, I'm quoting the organizers of the 13th edition. They say your commitment to promoting the crucial role of sport at international level in Africa as a tool to unite the people and nation is world renowned. As a football icon and head of state, your vision to bring unity, reconciliation, prosperity to Liberia in a balanced and inclusive manner is even more powerful and show an example for other political leaders. Not only other political leaders, but also top level athletes in the world. It was because of those things they just talked about. This is why the president was named the International Peace and Sportsman of the Year. That's why they award some.
And by the way, we should talk about that program. You know, I saw your deputy, that particular award. You know, I was watching it on Executive Mansion page, and I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. So,
yeah, they are.
Especially with the Monaco thing. You know, I saw him doing the live streaming when the president arrived, and then they went into this palace, you know, in Monaco with Prince Albert. You know, that is a prince who has been prince since 2005. You know, he, I think, is the only male in his family, and so he was the heir apparent when his brother abdicated. So later, when the president went there, this is a fan of George Weah. He's been following football for quite a while. You know, when the president arrived, he hugged the president and took the president up, but then the executive mansion crew had to use the other side to go into the actual room that they were supposed to have this meeting in. And in the elevator, the guy was talking. He was telling Smith, say, George is a big deal here. You know, your president is such a big deal here in Monaco. I mean, we are all glad. We are so honored to have him here. And all of that. You know, some of the times, you know, we can see pleasantries. You can hear pleasantries and know them. But when you hear a man genuinely speaks, you can tell from his body language and all of that. This is a person expressing genuine emotions.
But then in Monaco, they call him the king. They call him King George.
And then at that event, the president did express. He said, "Well, like I regard Liberia. I also regard Monaco as a home too, because, you know, when I started my footballing career, I left from Monrovia to Tunia. This was the first place I came and began my personal footballing career. And, you know, he said I came with one shoe, one shirt, one trouser, but I have tons of motivation and desire and all of that to excel and do well." And then he talked about how, in fact, sports have brought together people, because it is a sports for peace now, you know, using sports to achieve peace forum. And so he was talking about how, in fact, he was a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, you know, and that he managed to bring the different warring sides together. He was the only person who would cross the different boundaries during the war, you know, and people wouldn't, disturb him and all of that.
And you heard the president when he was receiving that award. He said that I'm bringing it for the Liberian people.
Yes.
He talked about his time at the UN, you know, as a peace ambassador, and how they were helping to disarm these kids then, and that his whole mantra was all about peace, peace, peace. And every time the president speaks about that, he said, without peace, all of these things we're talking about first is first, let's breathe, let's be alive. Then we talk about how to share the money.
Yeah,
all
I know that.
I remember all of the critics who they would sit on their so-called local radio talk shows and all of that, and they will, you know, remember they used to say Ghana, Ghana, look at Ghana, 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 and you know, I was just going through, you know,
That was the biggest example.
right. But look at the headlines. Just 17 hours ago, Ghanaians protesting the government's economic failures. Ghana minister sorry for economic crisis. That was just 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. Ghana finance minister Tule sorry. I've been reckless. Inflation, debt power pressure. They're now going back to the IMF. Global woeful economic crisis. IMF team to visit Ghana in December. That's just 22 hours ago.
As a matter of fact, let me talk about the fact that, let me just play a snippet. I was
these are the people who are calling for Samuel to a head.
I was called by a Ghanaian station, and that's one of the first things they said. You know, they called me, I think it was Class FM, and that's one of the first things I asked them. Before they wanted to talk about the president performance. This was the short interview.
Play that.
With Liberia's political class.
But the nation's problem is not a football problem.
It's not a football problem.
Charlie, so
let's go on the phone now, Karim, and speak to the Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, Honorable
Wakai. Fofana, senior, he joins us on the line. So I'm grateful that you've made time that you're on the Class Morning Show here in Ghana.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
How's Liberia this morning?
Liberia is fine this morning. We're waking up to a bright and sunny morning. I just got back myself from doing my little morning exercise, so everything is okay. I mean, people are getting ready to go to work. Others are getting ready to go to school. Yeah, so it's a sunny day.
Interesting.
Right.
We've not really had time to assess the performance of the President, George Opuya. And this morning I was even having a conversation, just a short conversation with my team members as to why we've not seen Liberia out there in terms of, let's say, football. And I'm asking these questions based on the fact that your president is a world champion when it comes to, someone who has won all the laurels in football. He's a world champion. We want to assess his administration since he took over as president and the quality of governance and politics in Liberia. How would you rate him? 6 over 10 or maybe give him 5 over 10?
Well, I think it would be 8 over 10, and that will be because obviously there were some governance challenges when he came along, and obviously Liberia is a post-conflict nation, so there will be weak institutions that the president is attempting to build and all of that. But I heard somebody in the studio talking about the fact that Liberia doesn't have a football problem. I couldn't agree more. The problem we have with Liberia is coming out of years of conflict. There were a lot of things that were priority for the new government of President we have to address. I mean, whether you were talking about the state of the economy at the time, or the kind of derelict infrastructure that the country.
Basically, the interview went to the state of the economy, and I was telling them that Liberia is doing well with IMF. We've been validated by the IMF, and that the economy. We were able to bring down inflation, the one that they're experiencing now. Yeah. Because they were asking me how we did it, Yeah. So this was a Ghanaian saying, one of the best in Ghana. They were asking me, how did Liberia manage to bring down inflation from a whooping 30% to under 7.8% that it is now? Yeah, we're just talking about, I was just telling them about some of the macroeconomic interventions that the folks at the central bank made, because this is, central bank thing. And then also under the leadership of the astute Samuel Ditwe Jr. and all of that. So so all of the examples, I just wanted to play this aside. So all of the examples people will be citing before, and say, go to Ghana, let's see Ghana, this and that, Liberia not doing well, look at Ghana. Well, it turns out Liberia is doing well in the sub-region, especially considering the global economic crisis that we are currently faced with. Yeah. But Liberia is resilient, we are striving, we're doing well, we're thriving, not even striving, we're thriving. And amid all of the different happenings.
I kept telling my colleagues on the other side, sometimes when I post this, they'd be like, well, why are you talking like that? I'm like, keep touting this negative, thought that Liberia is burning, doom, gloom situation you're painting about the country. And then on election day, you're going to be like the Republicans. There will be no red tsunami. Right, you'll be shocked because you're not doing everything you're talking is, it's turning people off. Yeah. It's turning people off. To the point you're telling people don't go for the census and you're trying to sabotage yourself.
Like I was saying before the Waka came in, I was on the BBC almost 7 days ago.
Exactly.
Where I was talking about why the president is traveling, how his travel is very economic.
And you nailed it.
The folks were saying that this government has not been able to pay our civil servants for 3 months.
Look at that line.
People have even taken pay for November.
Look at that line.
People, and that's one of the things, we should stress that. The folks in the opposition like this, they let them peddle this narrative. And then when you come and clarify, and then they've seen people who can go support them will go on their page and laugh at their posts when they say, the police taking pay. They'll go on those posts and laugh, and then when you clarify and say, you shouldn't be paying attention to these petty things. Come on now. You told the people they were petty when they posted, you laugh, you even peddle the same lie, but then when the clarification is made, you say, nobody posts about salary-based thing and this and that. I mean, it's not an ordinary situation. We don't post about salary all of the time, but when somebody is telling you a lie,
let me read this.
Come to clarify.
Let me read this after I posted. I just post one line and they come, just like in droves, Like I posted that. Thank God, I just got my alert, But some of my folks say, "But man, you blowing our cover." People because some of them been
If
like,
that what the guys say. No, that what the guys say. The best thing you put our web there against us.
So on the same post, this guy wrote Moses. He said that you have to come on social media to announce that you have received your salary, a salary that should come frequently, blah blah blah. All of that. Your awkward employer, blah blah blah. Check well. So it took the Attorney General, Accountant General. He came out, Janga Court. This is it. He called the guy and said, Moses, comrade, there has been the false narrative that the government owes 3 months' salary. Honorable Week's post is to validate that we are current with civil servant salary.
Yeah.
That's all. Unfortunately, everything in Liberia is politicized.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everything in Liberia is
and let's clarify, the government has paid for November. If you haven't received your salary, maybe so now the bank is delaying or this and that, but more than 90% complete.
3 months? Where?
So that thing that there are folks in the opposition, because they want that to happen. They want you going to Christmas so that we're going to be talking, say, oh, the government paid for 3 months. And by the way, according to the finance minister, the president had issued a mandate that even though we finish paying for November, that December salary should be paid before the 15th of December.
And they're arguing because people will eat that money and then something. And it's important to also note that there are some places you have salary challenges.
Yes.
At our place, MICAT, for one.
No, it's not delay, but it's
no,
we have maybe some places we got low salary.
Right, low salary.
Disproportionate.
And most of these things happen at the time. Sometimes you at your place and so a guy comes out and say, please help me. Maybe 3-4 persons, they come at your office. And you tell them, say, look, I don't do the employment. They will convince you and say, look, let me just hang around. The day the place get empty,
exactly.
You can throw me. I'm talking as from experience as Director General. You throw that in, and then the janitor is gone. Maybe he died, or something happened, or that place is empty. And you go to maybe CSA or Finance Ministry. You say, look, I got people who are working, their butt up. Please help them. And they say, okay, but we got this empty slot. We'll put them and work their way back up. After that happened, folks start to come back and say, oh, there's that. But, government is fixing this particular problem because it is important that you have equal pay for equal work, So they peddle this narrative, and because the problem is, it's about time that no matter what they say, even if they get up one morning and they say, everybody in CDC, is dead.
Mm-hmm.
We have to come back, breathing on radio and say, look, we are, show our hands and say we're alive. Or else it is going deep down into the community. People be coming to believe, all those lies these guys are telling.
And like there was another lie,
because we think we want to go. We say when they go low, we go high. No, but when they go low, this time we go lower.
So
for real.
So people are not really relishing or seeing the contribution that this person is making to life.
For real.
But those also are seeing.
No. A lot of people because one of the things, we're listening to the clip of the guys on the streets of Monrovia when they were interviewing them. They were telling the reporter, say, we see what the man is doing, given the challenges. And we think that he should be given additional 6 years to complete his term.
He was even leading these guys. If you're doing a poll, allow the guys to speak.
Yeah, you're doing an interview, you're leading people.
Everybody in the country say the president is bad.
Yeah, I question that.
How you came up?
What kind of coup you conducted?
Really?
They are no longer, like you said, they are no longer comparing Liberia to Ghana, Liberia to this country.
They can.
Because they know
they can.
Yeah.
Everything is
so
just upside down.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, the president trips, sometimes it's good for us to re-echo some of the things that have been achieved.
Mm-hmm.
Like on this gone Sunday, you have people from Sanko, from Egypt, after the president went for that course 27, COP 27. They came to Liberia this gone Sunday. This is a company that have decided, the firm, to do the road between Buchanan and Greenville, and then the road between Zedru and Greenville. They was there on assessment. The Minister of Public Works was their guest, because when the president left Sharp Mashef, which is in Egypt, the Minister of State Over Portfolio and the Minister of Public Works went and met his group. They had some discussions and they are back. Yet people say the president is on safari.
And the president was clear. I mean, an advisor to the president, who's traveling along with the president, the Commissioner General of the Maritime, was on the BBC on yesterday. He was clarifying the misinformation that was spewed out there by some other folks, and it seems as if validated by the senator of Montserrat, one of the senators of Montserrat County, when he said, the president provided misinformation about the stay in the Paris Peace Forum and all of that. Look.
Oh, you mean that guy?
Yeah, talking about Senator Darius Taylor. Look, I'm talking about, these international, I don't know what people have attended them. If you go to these meetings, there is the big, you go to the hall, there is the big plenary session. You will see the people in the hall, all of the different delegates. That's why you can see the names written, Liberia, Mauritania, this and that, everybody there.
Right.
Those meetings can last for 2-3 days, sometimes. But then, in that particular hall, you will see, go to room 5. They got a side event on climate change. Go to room 6. They got a certain event on this and that. Then they have the bilateral meeting between heads of states. They'll post a little thing aside. The heads of states will meet in the hallway. And, those things will be happening. So that even in the same city, the heads of states will be meeting at hotels. And what have you, like President Weah will have to meet Macron and other places, business people, and what have you. So just because the president is just because an event lasts for a particular time doesn't mean that the president is not meeting other people and all of that.
For the Paris Peace Forum, the president was invited to attend and participate in a forum.
Yeah.
To attend and to participate, those are two different things.
Yeah.
And the president participation was for the leadership conference where they highlighted democracy, because you cannot sustain peace if there's no democracy in most part of our world. So the leadership conference that brought together the presidents. They went that the forum the president attended after the official opening session, that they called the leadership summit of that particular conference. So how can you say the president? But this
and so the BBC leader was even surprised. She said, "Come on now, it's just 30 days." But then other places it wouldn't mean anything. But then I was saying that I wanted to make a big deal. So it's important. We need to know everywhere the president is all the time. Let's listen to Commissioner Nangbe. He provided some of the clarification yesterday after there was a debate on the BBC. Senator Dillon was talking about how the president provided misinformation and all of that. And then Commissioner Nangbe clarified. And the BBC got to him. Let's listen.
And now, Mr. Weah's defender, Eugene Nagbe, former information minister and currently close advisor to President Weah.
Mr. President's travel was totally in the interest of the people of Liberia, to try to garner support for some of the infrastructure projects that we are doing, and also to engage other world leaders. So that's the sum total of his tour. About this probe, I think the senator, as usual, is showboating. He's not going to table anything. But if he does, it will result to naught. The president, as a tradition in Liberia, informs the legislature when he's traveling and catalogs the extent of his travel and the purposes of the travels.
Well, Mr. Dillon doesn't deny that the president is going out of the country and might need to garner support, business, etc. What he's questioning is that the president has misled the country. Has the president misled the country concerning the Paris Peace Forum?
He has not, because the president visited to Paris each and every day. He arrived in Paris after leaving Sharm el-Sheikh at midnight, and then on the 9th, and then the Peace Forum started on the 11th, and the president stayed until the 18th. On the 15th, he has several other meetings after the forum. The assumption by the senator is that once the first and second day of the forum is over, then it is all done. It is very misleading.
Something that people are particularly concerned about is that the finance minister said that the president is entitled to up to $2,000 a day for incidentals. For a lot of people, they feel that Liberia could spend that money much better elsewhere.
And this is why Mr. President does not take $2,000, though he's entitled to take $2,000 a day on our travel ordinance. He has not taken a cent. And every time the president travels, there is a fiscal out-time report that is done, and you can see that though he's entitled to that, he has not touched it.
So who's paying for the entire trip?
Some parts of the trip were not paid for by the Liberian government. For example, at the May Days Forum to Morocco, it was fully paid for by the organizers. They sent a plane that took the president to Morocco, and the same plane took him to Sharm el-Sheikh. So it saved the Liberian people some money.
One of the things that people say is that the budget law is being violated here. The president is meant to have presented the budget and he hasn't yet. The national census is in disarray. The country, they say, needs leadership and doesn't have it because the president, as far as they are concerned, is gallivanting.
The problems in Liberia that the president inherited that he is fixing now has been so huge that he has to behave in a different way than normal. It's unfortunate to call a president who has now attracted over $175 million on one trip as gallivanting.
Right.
Actually, there has been no constitutional crisis because of the president's travel. There were some hiccups in the census, but now the census is proceeding very well.
So tell me this, the president's son is playing for America. Why is he not playing for Liberia?
He's above 18 and he has lived most of his life in America, and he made a decision that we all support. But Mr. Kim Weah is also a Liberian citizen by birth. So we all are celebrating his progress. And for us in Liberia that has very close ties with the United States is a very good thing for us.
When will the president be back?
The president is currently now in Monaco, and he's after a year he's going to the U.S. and then he'll come back to Liberia on the 18th of December after the Biden African Summit.
And that is Eugene Nagbe, former information minister and advisor now to President George Weah of Liberia.
Okay.
Yeah.
He say, how you say gallivanting, and so let's talk about that. I want to be gallivanter.
and bring
word.
more than $175 million
home.
in commitment to Liberia.
Take it away.
This is what I said. When he went to Tangier,
Your mic is on?
Yes.
it should be on.
Yeah, speak inside.
When the president went to Tangier, he had a commitment of 50 million for investment from the Hungarian government. They were awarding 15 scholarships. Now he has been stepped up to 25 scholarships annually for the youth. He visited the pool of...
They're complaining that you're low. I mean, somebody just sent me a text message.
I don't know. I think it's...
I think you need to just hold the mic to... Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So he went to Tangier, where 100% travel flight was provided by the King of Morocco.
Wow.
He had a bilateral meeting with the president of Cape Verde, where they are working out technical details for flights between here and Cape Verde and then Southern Africa, where the Hungarian government has committed 50 million for investment in Liberia, where scholarship were 10 annually, now it's 25. Here the mayor's gallivanting, where the port of Tangier in Morocco have agreed to provide technical support to our national team and even upgrade the port of Greenville, where people from here are going there to hold further discussions.
And that port...
And that's what you call gallivanting or you call safari.
I know, eh?
People know who go on safari.
Why you want to throw that word on us when it is on you? Right. Everybody
so I don't
knows.
understand.
That word tie around your neck.
The emir of Qatar, just a 1980 born, is the president. We have not only inspired or served as an inspiration to other people, but he himself is a living example.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he has promised to work along with us. The support they gave through the bank for the local road, he said they are going to provide funding for the second phase. Is that what you call gallivanting?
I know.
Other projects will be done. And he said a team, had not been for the World Cup and the upcoming trade fair, his team would have been in Liberia by the turn of the year. But he sent a team, a technical team. The first month in 2023, which is January, you call that gallivanting? When the president attended the October 24 UN Day program at the UN One House, he announced a community-driven project along with what? The UN country team. The Liberian president and UN country team will be meeting the head of the UNDP in New York. That is confirmed.
Wow.
After that meeting, another meeting to be confirmed will be the meeting with Guterres. They say our president cannot go to America. Our president cannot meet Biden. He has a meeting with Biden. Among the presidents in Africa, you're one of them are selected. Now all presidents from Africa, they are selected few. And it was based on their own output in terms of sustaining democracy instead of maintaining peace in the rural region. and how they can be used. Other people are looking at our president. How he's so tolerant.
Somebody, a friend of mine just sent me this message. Say, you guys need to do this often, bro. We do it every day, all the time. Not every day. We do it every Friday.
Telling me you need to listen often.
No, he means it honestly. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah,
I know.
So these are people that have been going from churches to churches, from places to places. Don't want the president to be giving attention in America. Now he's going to the U.S. It's a problem. What do they really want?
I think it is the Cinderella thing where they.
Let's open the lines again for the last time.
Right,
we can hear from the callers.
Yeah, let's hear from the callers.
0880. Let me get a number again. It's 0880-514-096. That's 0880-514-096. 0880-514-096 or 0886-561-537. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name? Where are you calling from? From Foya. Yeah, from Foya, this one, Lofa County. Hey, man, fire you.
No need to even care about what's wrong. Because if you listen to Bagabogan, like we said, team president, team president, Foya, or team president, we are president Foya, we are not prepared that way. We need to see this, all the Foya main principles free. So then we get standard city hall that we can put up.
Wow.
Why you think you will go against President Weah?
I know.
Our people that wouldn't be back up on that 17 or 18 when we will praise you. I need some hard carpet that we can show our people that don't listen to radio. That is still the development of your government. Thank you so much for long life of you guys.
That's a good point.
Thank you so much.
Bring all of them and share out.
I totally agree. Callers 0886-514-096.
It's really from Foya.
No, 0880-514-096. That's 0880-514-096. Yeah, good morning. Your name, where are you calling from?
My name is Joseph. Where are you calling from? Here, Delhi area.
Joseph, go ahead.
Joseph, which is that Kwame, brother?
Woyi.
I just want to say thanks for the program this morning. Everything you said was well taken in. But one problem I got in Labrador is with this civil servant.
Okay.
Those are in the civil servant, I want to believe that there are not people that the government should really hope on, especially when it comes to the one that they bet in the system. Because they will come on the radio and make the Labrador people to know that they are not taking pay. Then when they get their salary, they keep their mouth.
Yeah, keep their mouth shut. That's a fight.
So the government shouldn't really hope on the civil servant. Really. Now, for what we in the community, we know what we're going through. Then they will talk, they will make you to feel that the government is not doing anything and they are working in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yeah, well, listen, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
They are working in the system. But then when the salary comes, we don't know that yet. The money I get to the owner salary, government is not even owing anybody 3 months.
They're not true. They're not true. They're lying.
Them fasten.
They are running around in the community.
You're not owing them fasten.
The government should be very careful with the civil servants, especially the poor ones that are betting the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Callers 0880-514-096 or 0886-561-537. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Fofana and your team in studio this morning.
Your name and where you calling from?
I'm Anthony Escalapa calling from Bon County, Salah District 6 Pacific.
Anthony, go ahead.
Mr. Fofana, I want to thank you ever so much for the day-to-day education and information you gave to us Nigerians.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The God and Son has said,